Hello, it's me again, Mr. Dancer A. He's back with the part 2 of the Unicorn Overlord tier thing. Where was I? Oh, Elven Fencer. Alright, there we go. Alright, so, Elven Fencer. Pretty good class. Ain't nothing crazy. It's an A-rank class. I'd say it's better than a Lord. Is it better than Griffin Knight? I don't think it's better than Griffin Knight, but it's better than the Lord. So, this is a very good mixed attacking class. You can just kind of push through pretty much any classes you run into. You have Lightning Blade, which applies stun, and it does magic and physical damage. That's always great. It has Sylphic Barrier, which lets you protect allies from arrows. Any range attack, really, but I mean, arrows is the one we're really focused on. You get a free evade on it, but True Strike ignores this. Keep that in mind. Remove Weakness acts as a refresh as well as another evade, and can target anyone, including the user, as long as they've been debuffed. The problem is, True Strike still ignores it. You have Nature's Wrath, which hits a whole column at once, and removes passive points from cavalry targets, which can ruin cavalry-reliant classes, like the Radiant Knight and the Dark Knight, who really want to have their passive points to either heal or do a lot of damage. You have Evasive Impetuous, which gives you +1 AP, just for dodging an attack, which can stack with Remove Weakness and Sylphic Barrier's evasion effects, essentially giving you a free evade. And you have Mirage Stab, to hit an entire row for even more mixed damage, and you get the secondary effect of evading an attack again. But of course, as always, True Strike will ignore it. That's kind of the big problem with this class, is True Strike ignores all of what it wants to do. Now you have Magic Assist, which is nice, and you have Thundercloud, which is a very nice Valor skill. Nice damage, moves across the map so you can hit a lot more targets than you maybe think. But the fact that True Strike ignores everything that this class wants to do, and it has no real way to get through guarding classes. And this class itself actually doesn't have that much initiative, not that much evasion, very bad defense, and very bad guard. So if they can't dodge that attack, they're getting cooked pretty quickly. But they're pretty good at frontlining. If they're they're pretty good at frontlining, we'll say. Now, Radiant Knights kind of hard wall them, at least their secondary effects, but the attacks do physical damage as well. I'm an adult. Yeah, I'm an adult. But yeah, True Strike just kind of disregards everything that they want to do. But it's not a bad class. The Elven Archer is basically just it's not better than any of the other archers. I'll give it above it. I think it's better than the Fencer. It's not better than the other archers that you get, but you have a magic damage built in. That's pretty cool. That's pretty big. Wind Arrow, you hit those high defense units, whew, cook them. And for other units that don't have high defense, they get hit with an evasion debuff. So you can hit them even easier, which combos well with their high initiative. So they can hit a target that has decently high initiative if they hit, which can let another ally follow up and finish them off. They have Selfless Heal, which removes debuffs from everybody and heals them, which is so good. The problem with this skill is you have to get healed. As in the Elven Archer needs to be healed. If they're not healed, it will never activate. And that's kind of a big drawback to that skill, because it just kind of never goes off. You have Mystic Unfurl, which is exactly the same as Magic Unfurl. They just literally have a different name. So we already know how good that is. Pure Field, very good skill. Nice free debuff block for everybody, but it does kind of conflict with Selfless Heal, because Selfless Heal would have cleared debuffs in the first place. But of course, as you know, Selfless Heal kind of has a weird requirement. So you have Icicle Arrow, which can hit multiple targets at once and freeze them. That's good, especially on a class with high initiative, because you can just stop an enemy from doing anything. Merciful Rain, however, is a worse version of Heal 2. It heals way less, but at least you can heal more things in a spread out sort of environment, top things up, etc. It's also useful if you have to put out fires, because it's rain. I should have added to the Elven Fencer. Elven Fencer's Thunderstorm also does cause rain, which has the effect of clearing fires. You have ranged assist with your Elven Archer. That's nice to have always. The biggest problem with the class is just it's a bad archer, it's a bad mage, and it's a bad cleric. However, it is all three at once, which makes it a good class because it has a lot of utility going for it. Now let's jump to our beastie boys, the Bestrels. We have the Werewolf, who is a B+ class. B+ class. Better than Soldier? No, not better than Soldier. It's a very good class at finishing off targets. It's got a pretty good initiative as well. Got great crit, well, okay physical damage. Insane accuracy. And they get super rough under the full moon. That's cool. Finishing stab lets you, build up your momentum, because if you take somebody out with it, you get more damage. The problem with that attack is it does not stack. So, you can only get that buff once. But 50% attack is a lot. Nocturnal Strike, that's a good one. Because that's 150 damage. 150% damage. As opposed to regular, attacks which are 100. And it gives like that passive point if you use it at night, if you use it. So the attack basically becomes cost-free. You have Decimate, which can rip up a bulky target that's by themselves. But the problem is, it only is good if they're by themselves. Like there's a damage scale with it, but it's not technically better than finishing stab most of the time. It's kind of on the same playing field. You have Bestial Howl, which gives everybody in the row bonus attack. But unlike Cavalier Call, it does not require everybody to be like a beast or something. It's just everybody in the row. So it's way more flexible than Cavalier Call. And you have Killing Pursuit. However, it's a follow-up attack. So it's not as easy to rely on, but you have a higher chance of killing a target if you're following up on an ally's previous attack, because they'll be at lower health. And you have Wild Fang, which hits a whole row at once, multiple attacks, increases in effectively the lower HP that target is, which means it technically scales as it hits. The problem with it is it's not that strong in the first place. Its biggest property is that it hits a whole row multiple times at once, which can burn through a lot of passive skills quickly. Hide, pretty good skill. It's good for recon and infiltration, but it's not that useful most of the time. But it's good for dodging things like ballista, because they can't see you to shoot you. That's pretty cool. And Nightwalk is cool, but it only helps the user get places better, faster at night. So it's not that much utility. Yeah, sure, it's nice to move faster at night, but what do you do during the day? Nothing. Got it. It's a cool class, and it really works well with skills that can, get rid of a target's ability to guard them, or magic unfurl, but it's not that special. It's not like broken or anything. Now, if we're going to talk about broken, this is another class that I did not respect, and then looked into later and was like, wow, this is a super good class. Werefox. Now, this is like the foil to the rogue, because the rogue and the Werefox, they're both scout type classes, and they both do a lot of utility. The thing about the Werefox is it also does damage. It's basically an offensive thief, but I don't think it's better. I don't think it's that much better than the rogue. They're kind of comparable. And I'll explain why in a bit. So Piercing Lance, you have Guard Seal. Boom. You have Passive Hold, which is a passive seal. Those are both great, especially since Passive Seal can negate stuff like a Bulk Up or a Following Slash. Well, you can stop the Following Slash if you hit the person who has the Following Slash with it. You have Nocturnal Evade, which is evade but better because it refreshes itself at night. You have Shadow Pursuit, which is pursuit but better, and inflicts a blind. That's awesome. Weakness Hunter hits a buff target and ignores half of their defense. Like, those big defensive legionnaires? Nope. You're taking a lot of damage, buddy, because half your defense just doesn't exist anymore. And this combos with stuff like Piercing Lance and Passive Hold, which means as soon as you attack with that Guard Seal, or that Passive Seal, you can immediately hit them with Weakness Hunter. With no time for them to even react. You have Venom Thrust, which hits a whole column and poisons them all. Which, and it gives them a recovery debuff. And it does more damage if the target's poisoned. That HP recovery debuff means that if you heal somebody who got hit by that, they're only going to get healed half the amount they normally would be. Very nice. It's very good against self-heal units like Berserkers, as well as in combination against groups that have healers like Clerics. Jump is an awesome active skill because you can just jump to an ally. It's not teleport, but it costs less than teleport, so that's pretty good. Jump 2, also good because you can just jump on an enemy and attack them. It's nice. Nightwalk, we've already covered. It's not that great, but because of their a scout class, they have 170 base movement. So with Nightwalk on, they are faster than Cavaliers. Keep that in mind. They're very good with other debuffing classes, like Rogues, for example, and Druids. And they're not really bad in any group, which is kind of the thing, is, at least for me, when I was playing, I thought, you know, put the beasts together, they'll work well together. They don't really work that well together. Werewolves don't really want to be with other beasts. They want to be with classes that can help them, you know, ignore guards, do magic damage. And Werefoxes don't really want to be with, you know, Werebears or Wereowls. Stupid class. They just want to be with other types of units because they can work with anybody. The only reason that they're not like S+ is because they really only hit one. They can only hit one target, with the exception of Venom Thrust. Like, yeah, Shadow Pursuit, awesome, but would you rather blind a target or KO them? Probably KO them. So, yeah. Alright, Werebear. Where is that bear? That bear is all the way in the C rank. This bear is bad. This is a bad unit. Alright, I'll explain to you why. This is a bulky guy. Bulky bear. He's a bear, you know? He can equip shields. That's great. Bear Crush is awesome because it stuns, but they have an F in accuracy and an F in initiative, so they're not stun locking anything. They're gonna miss, or they're gonna stun somebody who already attacked. It doesn't matter. Heavy Guard, cool, but it's not better than any other guard, and it's worse than every other cover skill. They have an S rank in guard, so they don't need heavy guard. They need heavy cover, but they don't have that. And heavy guard doesn't give any secondary effect, so it's just, if you didn't guard before, you guard now. It's not that good. It's not good. Round Swing, that's a pretty good move because it can clear out a whole row, and the higher your HP is, you know, the more damage it's going to do. But there's a big problem with it. You have low initiative, so it means you're going to get hit probably a few times, because you should put these guys on the front line. And you don't have a way to immediately heal. The Berserkers, for example, have the bulk up, so their HP requirements for their moves make sense because they immediately heal back up to get their HP back to full. To high, what am I talking about? And low accuracy moves on a low accuracy class is not great, but at least Round Swing does hit multiple times. Now, Nocturnal Rest, however, is a reverse bulk up, which means after you attack, you heal, but the HP increase is just better on average, because it's 30% normally and 6% at night, which means it's a 45% on average. Bulk up is only 40, so yeah. And because it activates after you attack, you can't like disable it if you still have a passive point. Versus, you know, you can disable a bulk up with passive seal. They won't get the heal. All right, now you have Life Blow, which is super good in combination with Nocturnal Rest and a low initiative, because it does 80% of your HP to a target. And this is from a unit that has a lot of HP. Good luck hitting it, because it's not accurate from a unit with F in accuracy. Earthshaker is the best thing that this class has. If it didn't have this class, this is a D rank class in my opinion. It hits every enemy, and the lower the HP the user has, which means that low initiative, they got hit a bunch of times. It works well, but it does absolutely nothing to flyers. However, it is unguardable, unlike Grand Smash, which is not. So yeah. Bear Crush is a pretty good, pretty okay Valor skill because it stuns enemies, allowing you to get first strikes on them. It doesn't do anything to flyers though. It doesn't actually do any damage, so it's not very good. And we've already covered why Barrier Breaker is not good, and why Nightwalk isn't great, because with Nightwalk as active, you are as fast as a fighter. Yep. Let that sink in. Okay, well, the stupid class I was speaking about, the Wereowl, that's a bad class. Actually, it's better than the fighter because it does heal. Is it better than the shaman? It's probably better than the shaman. But yeah, it's definitely the worst cleric out of all the other clerics. Just I'll get to why. Okay, so first you have a Roar Veil that gives a nice HP regen to the row of allies. It's always good, and a nice 50% magic defense buff. And it works well because they have pretty pretty high initiative, so they can just kind of keep the allies healing as they attack afterwards. But yeah, Restore passes one passive point from the user to an ally after they use any passive skill, so they basically get to use a passive skill for free if they have a Wereowl in their group. Night Vision gives it a nice meaty accuracy buff, which becomes a true strike at night. Always nice to hit stuff. And you have Quick Dispel, which will immediately remove a buff from an enemy, and can keep going off as long as you still have the passive points to go. Meaning, if you hit, if an enemy, I don't know, uses a Cavalier Charge or something, and then they buff two guys, you can, if you have two passive points, you can just debuff both of them. Is that a good use of it? See, it's not that good. It's not that useful. Circle Barrier protects all allies from 100% damage, which is nice, but it wears off regardless if they get hit at all. So it has anti-synergy with high evasion classes, and it's classes that have guard or deflect effects, because they'll just kind of waste the skill. Extra heal heals an ally and gives them regen and 30 more initiative, but it's a very big cost of 2 AP. And Farsight increases assist range and visibility for everybody in range of the cast, which is pretty good, but you can only use 3 assists on one target, so it's not that good. It has flight, and they have healing assist, and they have Nightwalk, and they're a cleric. At night, the Wereowl moves as fast, I think, as a Cavalier. That's fast. And they're flying, so that's great. The reason this class is so low is because it's not a good cleric. It is the worst cleric because it does not directly heal pretty much ever. It only has it can only heal one ally directly, and it costs 2 AP to even do it. Everything else is just regen. And it can't get rid of debuffs on an ally. It can only just give you regen and true sight. Every cleric class is better than this class by like a landslide. Even the Radiant Knight is better than this class. Alright. So next we have the Feathersword. Pretty cool class. But not that great. That's why I'm giving it a B rank. It is better than a Viking. Better than a Ancient Knight. Not better than a Swordmaster. So this is a flying class that's got, utility built into it. You have Spiral Sword, which has a nice little effect of giving evasion to the user as well as debuffing evasion onto the target. But it doesn't stack, so not that strong. You have Accelerate, which helps, kind of alleviate their lowish initiative by buffing them. So they get a nice immediate +1 initiative and a +30 accuracy if anybody on their team is attacked. That's cool. Shield Smite is basically warding guard, but it's just better because it gives the debuff and it gives the user a buff, as opposed to just giving the user a buff. And it has a better initiative, so it'll actually, be useful. Diurnal Guard keeps the user safe and gives a bonus passive point if it's during the day, meaning it can just kind of stack. And additionally, since it only affects physical attacks, it actually can save a Feathersword from an Archer in a pinch. In theory, at least. They have pretty good guard rates, so. You have Discharge, which is an awful name, but it combines well with Accelerate, because it takes all the buffs that the user has just gained and uses them to increase their attack power. But losing the buffed accuracy could cause a attack to miss if Hone Slash didn't give you True Strike if the user was buffed. So, yeah. That accuracy buff doesn't even matter. And Hone Slash hits multiple times. Multi-hitting moves, always nice. You have Haste, but Haste is not that good because you want to win battles, you don't want to lose them and then have to wait. That'd be dumb. And it doesn't do anything when you rest, which I don't understand at all. I think it should, but It doesn't. And its class can equip shield, so that's, you know, nice for it. And it has flight, so that's always great. The problem with it is that the Valor skill is pretty bad, and they can't hit more than one target at a time. They can only hit that one target, and the one target they hit, they don't even do that much damage. Because, like, even with a discharge into Hone Slash, you're not doing that much damage with a C in physical attack and a D in magical attack. So, sorry. If Swordmasters had that, that would help them a lot, but they don't. So we have the one of the, if not the best archer class, the Featherbow. I think it's better than Shield Shooter. You got flying utility, which means you're not concerned with cavalry at all. You're actually just gonna dodge them. You have delaying shot, which hits multiple times, and because Featherbows have ridiculously high initiative, you can delay them. You can delay the target from ever attacking, and have one of your own units follow up immediately. You have Aerial Pursuit, which is nice, but it only works when there are other flyers in your group, so that's kind of, you know, not that important. You have Saint Shot, which can remove two power points, passive points from a target if they're on the ground. You can just basically just shut down a grounded unit immediately. Tailwind happens after the user uses any of their active skills, so you have your super high initiative, you use an attack, and then you buff your allies' initiative. And this initiative is not locked to only flyers, so everybody in the row gets that initiative boost. Yes, if you have a flyer there, they get more initiative, but it's still good. A plus 10 versus plus 20 is not that big of a deal, versus a plus 20 and plus 0. So it's pretty nice. Shining Light is what pushes this class to the S rank, because it didn't even need this class without the skill, because it didn't have the skill. It's probably still an A rank bow unit, but Shining Light is so strong because it just applies blindness to a whole row of attackers before they attack anybody. Not attack them, anybody. Then they don't have to be the target, which nullifies archers' effectiveness entirely, even if they have Eagle Eye active, because you can't hit through a True Strike when blinded, which is, you know, Featherbow doesn't want to get hit by arrows. And you have Photon Arrow, which hits 2 targets and inflicts 50% defense debuff for both of them, and a passive seal during the day. It's such a good, it's good. It's a great skill. And again, the high initiative means you're going to immediately activate Tailwind and get to work with your allies. You have Delay, which is actually really good because it just straight up says you can't move for an enemy on the map. So you just free first strike that guy, and it only costs 1 Valor point. Now you could be saying, well, what about the bear move? The bear move doesn't work against flyers, so this is better. You have Flight and Rage Assistant, so you can get into position a lot easier. The only reason that it's not S+ is because, well, you can't get it until you're in the last area of the game. That's kind of, you know, availability is a factor. And archers who have anti-blindness abilities don't care about Shining Light at all. They'll just rip through this class. So, yeah. But hey, it's a really good class. Now, let's jump to our next flying guy, who is the Featherstaff, which is a pretty good cleric. It's pretty much what the owl thing wants to be. Is it better than a cleric? It's better than a cleric. Yeah, it's better than a cleric. Is it better than it's better than the archer. Better than a griffin? No, not better than a griffin. So, this is a healer with a lot of initiative, which you might be thinking, that seems like it's not that useful because you want your allies to get hurt. However, Overheal doesn't care if you're hurt or not. It will heal you above your max HP, which means you're not losing out on, you know, HP that you would have gained anyway. You just get more HP. That's huge. You have Hasten Heal, which starts at the beginning of the fight, which can heal people before the battle even starts, and gives you regen during the day. Is that not better than Aurora Veil? That's better than Aurora Veil. Sorry, Wereowl, you're still getting overlapped here. You have Honed Healing, which gives the HP recovering buff. Similar, you know, how the Werefox get a recovery debuff, this is a buff, which, you know, worked with the regen. Now you're recovering even more HP every turn. You have Preemptive Heal, immediately heal an ally before they're attacked. And if they're afflicted, it removes that affliction and gives them an extra passive point. That's huge. And then you have Holy Cradle, which lets a whole row of allies survive a lethal blow. But it's kind of unnecessary because you do have Overheal and you have Hasten Heal. But it's not a bad skill to just be able to stop a whole row of allies from falling. That's great. And just like the Owl, they have Flight and Healing Assist. But unlike the Owl, it's useful. It's a good class. It can heal without needing to take all of its active points. It's just the only reason the class isn't higher is because there's no real defensive measures. Like, you can't resurrect an ally, but you can prevent them from falling. And you can't raise any evasion, you can't clear any debuffs immediately, but you can clear debuffs. So, like, if you get a hit by an attack that applies Binding Guard, for example, you can't immediately heal that off. But before that person who get hit by Binding Guard attacks, you can remove the effect. So it depends on, you know, your allies' movements. Also, because they're flyers, they're weak to bows, and you could use Holy Cradle to keep you alive, but that doesn't seem like it's worth it. So yeah. And we have the Feathershield, the big guy. Yeah, he's no, don't cap. Feathershield is a B rank class. It is the worst armored class that exists for a few reasons. But they do have shields. Always nice to have shields. Now, let's go through the whole kit. You have Impulse, which gives you a magic defense debuff onto the target, but no attacks that a Feathershield does magic damage, so it doesn't do anything. In fact, not a single flying class uses magic damage, so I don't know what this is. I don't know why they have this at all. It doesn't seem like it helps their group in the slightest. I mean, yeah, you can pair him with a mage, but you can pair him with a mage. I don't know. The reason this class is not a C rank class is because it has Reflect Magic, which is so funny. Especially since it also blocks any passive skills that activate before or after, you know, that attack, because it's the same attack but it's reflected. However, it only works. Wait, no, it does work. Yeah, never mind. I'll ignore what I was going to say. This doesn't matter. Sacrifice is a cover skill that doesn't cover. So, you just take full damage. But you get 2 extra passive points. But it's definitely going to self-sabotage you. Yeah. Mirror Weakness removes their own debuff and pushes it onto the unit that afflicted it. But unless that unit that debuffed them came from an offensive unit, that doesn't really matter. Mystic Shield is the magical version of Great Shield and is exactly as useless because buffing the user's best stat does not matter. But because this unit wants to frontline, they would rather buff their defense, and they don't buff their defense. They buff their magic defense, so that doesn't help them very much. Mirror Ring, I don't like. This is a bad one. Well, it's situational as hell because it gives allies the same skill, the same buff that the user has, but that would mean that the user needs to be buffed for it to matter. As a Valor skill, that means you need to use an item or something to buff an ally, like a Empowering Drought or something, and then you could use Mirror Ring to pass it to someone else as well, I guess. But you know what else you could use? Attack Call. Boom. 20% buff on both allies. And it doesn't only last one turn. Yeah, whatever. Maybe it's good to somebody. I don't know who's good. I don't know. Resist Magic Assist, always nice. And you have Flight, also nice. It's not a very good class. They're weak to bows. They have pretty bad defense. They only have a decent guard rate. This class would be way better if it had, you know, better, more balanced defenses, and could do some magic damage to combo with their impulse move, but they don't, so whatever. I guess in theory you could use impulses, magic defense in combination with reflect magic, but alright, very unique classes. We have the Priestess, which, as you know, is a B rank. Don't even come for me. This is not a very good class. Is it better than the Vanguard? I don't think it's better than the Vanguard. Now, there's a couple reasons for this. So you have Holy Light, which does a nice, nice damage, and removing the buff of the target. Nothing special. Second effect is it's nice to have it. And Curing Call can heal a whole row and clear a whole row of debuffs and afflictions. That's cool, which is why it's better than the Radiant Knight, which is row heal. Regeneration, good skill. I mean, it's good Valor move, because it lets allies heal after multiple battles without needing the healing assist. And Resurrection is even better, because it can remove a whole group in a pinch, which can save you some revival orbs. And it has a healing assist. But two things hold this class back. One, the availability. Scarlet is the only priestess you get, meaning that the entire first area, until you go save her, you can't use them. And by the time you get her, you'll get another mage, and you'll get another cleric. That's kind of does her job better, because she's not great at being a cleric, and she's not great at being a mage. So, yeah, that's kind of what pushes her down. And the High Priestess. Now there we go. Now we're still in B. Still in B. Are you better than the Soldier? I don't know. I guess you're better than the Soldier. I don't know. You have Saint's Barrier, which is a better version. I mean, it's a worse version of Circle Barrier, because it only targets one ally, but it has a better effect than Circle Barrier because it's a bigger defensive boon. You have Innocent Ray. I don't know why it's named that, but she's better than Holy Light because it hits a whole row, but it's 2 AP. So in order to hit multiple guys, you need to spend 2 AP, which is pretty normal for mages, but not great for clerics. You kind of want to save your AP for Curing Call, so yeah. Divine Blessing, that gives you regen, and it gives you a nice little defense buff to all allies, but there are much better, starter battle effects than regen and a 10% defense buff. And the other reason this class is kind of held back is because, again, there's only one High Priestess you can get, and she's not that great. She has a lot of evasion, but not that great of a class. So, yeah, Norbel, please don't come for me. Alright, now we're back to the good stuff. Crusader, now we're talking. Now we got some good classes. This is definitely on par with the Lord, if not better than the Lord. I don't know which is better, Lord or Crusader, but they're both very, very good. It's basically a defensive Lord, but it's not a defensive Lord because it's not an armor class. But she can use 2 shields at the same time. What's better than 1 shield? 2 shields. You have Vertical Edge, does bonus damage, ignores half the defense, and becomes a True Strike versus Flyers, which means Flyers are not a counter. She has Iron Crusher, which does bonus damage, ignores half the defense versus the armored targets, and it is unguardable, so armors are not a check to her either. Maiden's Hammer is a very powerful counter skill because it gives you 150 base damage, and it gets up to 250 base damage if her HP drops. That's insane! You have Dual Shield, which is one of the best Valor skills because it just stops assist attacks from ever happening to you for only one battle. Also the First Strike, but the First Strike is not that relevant. And it hits everybody in that range, it's not just one person. And you have Blade Wave, which is one of the best Valor offensive skills because it just does more damage if the leader can use an assist skill. So pair her with an Archer, an Elven Archer, pair her with an Elven Fencer, pair her with a Witch, and Blade Wave does increased damage. As opposed to like Cavalry, Wild Charge only gets the damage boost, Wild Ride only gets the damage boost versus Infantry, or Arrow Rain only gets the bonus damage versus Flyers. This just gets the bonus damage if your leader can use assists. That's it! Resistant range assaults, always nice to have. And the only thing this class don't like is Cavalry and Mages. Because, you can't be good against everything. Except you can, because you can use 2 shields! You can use a Cavalry Hunter shield, and you can use a Phantom Knight shield. Boom! Now you have magic resistance, and you have anti-cavalry shielding. It's great. Yeah. Can't stress how strong 2 shields is. Now we have the Valkyria. I think it's pronounced Valkyria? Valkyrie? Valkyro? It's an S+. It's an easy S+. It's better than... It's just the Crusader, but better. You have Iron Veil, which is way better than Divine Blessing. Sorry, Scarlet, Norbel, whatever your name is. Because it's a 30% defense buff and a 50% guard rate for everybody. That's big stuff. You have Brandish, which ignores half of the defense. It hits multiple times. It gets the user back an extra an extra passive point if it connects. Did I mention that it is unguardable? Because it is unguardable. Whew. An Undying Will just makes the user stronger and stronger the lower their HP gets, which can stack on top of Maiden's hammer damage increase. And additionally, it lets you survive a lethal blow. It's very good. Just one of the best classes. The only reason it's not above the High Lord is because it can't use Astral Blade. Because if you can't use Astral Blade, you can't beat the game. So, the movement isn't really relevant for this class because, you know, Virginia doesn't really want to be the leader. She wants to get the most out of Blade Waves, so she wants to be just a part of another ranged group's, you know, team. And who cares about low initiative when you have 2 shields with S rank guard rate and A defense and C magic defense? Who needs high initiative? Alright, now with the Elven Sibyl. Easy S rank class, one of the best. I think it's either on par or better than, I think it's better than the Bishop. I think it's a better healer than the Bishop. So, this is an offensive and supportive cleric. It's kind of what the Priestess / High Priestess wishes it was, but it is not that at all. And this class also summons fairies, which does various things. Don't worry about it. We'll explain it in a bit. So you have Primus Edge, which does nice damage, nice mixed damage, and gives an extra passive point if the user is at full health, and summons a group of fairies. Again, we'll cover the fairies in a bit. All you really gotta know is it gives you an extra passive point to do more stuff, and Primus Edge does mixed damage. That's cool. Curing Heal quickly heals allies after they're hit and gets rid of any debuffs that they're reflected with. That's better than Quick Heal, which is not even Scarlet's skill, it's just on her ribbon. Which any cleric can wield. Sorry, Scarlet, you're losing. I might have to drop you to C. No, I'm not gonna drop you to C. You have Boon of the Fairies, which heals a whole row of allies in a row and gives them debuff immunity and summons a group of fairies at the start of the battle. It's good, you know? It's good. It's a good start of the turn move. Healing you and a debuff immunity? That's cool. Fairy Heal restores a huge amount of health to a row of allies and an immunity to damage for 1 attack. Yeah. No damage taken for 1 attack. Did I mention it summons a group of fairies? It summons a group of fairies. And now we have Elemental Roar. Now this is where the fairies come into play. Every enemy is hit with this mixed damage attack that gets stronger and stronger depending on how many fairies you've summoned. Extremely powerful. However, it does cost 3 AP, which is very high. And you have Elemental Impetus. Impetus, which grants the user an extra active point and summons another group of fairies after using an active skill, which means you could combine it with Primus Edge to give somebody 2 summon fairies immediately to then strike with Elemental Roar if you have enough AP. Shaboom. You have Rescue, which is insane because you can just move an ally to right to you. And you have Quick Call, which is also insane because it's what haste should be, but isn't, because haste only affects waiting periods, while Quick Call also affects resting periods. So you just have a Stardust Hourglass as a skill. You have Healing Assist. The only thing that holds this class back from S+ status is a lot of AP and Valor costs. But listen, these are some strong skills, so it's kind of okay. And we have the Elven Augur, which is not the same, but it's up there. A+, better than Breaker. Not better than Surgeon, but better than Breaker. It's slightly less useful because it's a little bit more offensive oriented, a little less support. So you have basically the same skills. You got Primus Edge, you got Curing Heal, you get Elemental Roar, you get Elemental Impetus, you got Quick Call, Quick Call, not Quick Claw, this isn't Pokemon. Now, the differences are you have Sylphic Wind, as opposed to Fairy Heal, which hits a whole row of enemies at once with a multi-strike that is bonus damage to flyers. And of course, you know, more Fairy group is loaded. You have Rage of the Fairies as opposed to Boon of the Fairies, which hits everything in the front row with a magic damage that stuns them, which will, you know, delay their action and gives you a fairy. You have Distance Swap instead of Rescue, but it's not nearly as good because switching places isn't as good as just pulling somebody to you. But it's still very strong. And you have Quick Call. Wait, I already covered that. You have magic assist as opposed to healing assist. Neither are bad though. It's got the same exact problems as the Sibyl. The problem is that it has a little bit less utility, so it is behind. But it is still a very good cleric and way better than Scarlet. Sorry, and even way better than the Wereowl. But we don't have to cover the Wereowl. So now we have some more unique classes. We have the Snow Ranger. The Snow Ranger is an S rank class. However, because you only get one Snow Ranger, and it is somewhat late game, it is an A rank class. You have to consider the availability for this class. I'm placing it right behind the Langschneck. Nope, that's still A+. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, A rank. It literally would be S rank if you could use more than one, and you could use them more earlier. It's the only reason it's held back. And I'll explain why. You have Mystic Arrow, normal attack, but it does another full-powered magic damage against an armored target. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. We've already seen Eagle Eye. It's on the Hunter. It's a good skill. You have Triple Counter, which means if you get hit once, you shoot back 3 times. That's silly. You have Sonic Shaft, which uses targets that have high initiative and just shreds them. Just all your initiative that you have is now used against you. You have Glacial Rain, which is an extremely strong charge move that freezes everything and is a multi-strike. The drawback being a charge attack is kind of bad because she can evade attacks when charging, though. And you have Snow White Strike, which is Pursuit that also freezes and does more damage to frozen targets. That's crazy, baby. And you have Extra Assist as a Valor skill, which increases the assist damage of all allies within the range, and negates their stamina consumption for a battle. It is way better than, what does the Wereowl have? Clairvoyance? Eagle Eye? Eagle Eye, that sounds right. Yeah, that's not a good skill. Extra Assist, that's a good skill. Passive Snipe takes away a passive point from an entire group of enemies for one battle. That's awesome. You have Range Assist, and again, the only things that hold this class back, and these are really bad, is that you only get one, and it's late when you get it. And the other is that Glacial Rain negates the use of Triple Counter and Snow White Strike, and all of her evasion stats. So, you're either going to use Glacial Rain, or you're not going to use Triple Counter, Snow White Strike, or evasion, because you can't dodge while charging. And since she has very high initiative, she will charge pretty early. So, yeah. Now let's cover the other Bestral unique guy, the Werelion. This is a Berserker, but because of availability, it is the worst class. Okay? It's the same thing. It's literally the same class. It's just stronger at night. There's literally nothing different about these two classes. Technically, this is better than a Berserker because, you know, Nightwalk, but you get it so late in the game, just use a Berserker. Like, come on, dude. This class is ass. Paladin. Woo! A rank class. Maybe an A+. Yeah, I'll give it A+ behind the Griffin Knight. It's a Saint Knight, but it's more offensive. It has a bit, you know, some things that are better on the Sainted Knight, but it doesn't matter because the Paladin has better offenses. So even though Slice is worse than Hash, it doesn't matter because Slice is actually going to get kills. which is you know how it actually gets its bonus effect, which is it only gets the passive point when it takes out something. But that's fine because, you know, Paladins actually have damage. Holy Barrier is exactly the same as Saint's Barrier. So there's no difference. Heal can heal anybody, including the user, but it only heals one person, as opposed to Row Heal, which heals a row. So, little trade-off. Holy Guard blocks an attack and prevents debuffs. That's cool. Like, you know, a Guard Seal. Nope, sorry, Holy Guard. Sorry, doesn't work. Pursuit? Oh yeah. Especially when you're able to keep replenishing your passive points, that's a good thing to have. And you got Divine Cross, which hits twice, hits Mojo and does magic damage, and removes the target's debuffs, and gives the user a passive point if the target goes down. And because the Paladin has a B rank in both physical and magic attack, it actually has a pretty good chance of taking stuff out, including armored guys. The Valor skill for heal, already covered under the Cleric. It's good. Resist magic resist, also good. Cavalry unit, got a lot of mobility. Shield usage. It's a very good unit over in the beginning. Yeah, it does fall off later on, but you cannot ignore the power that Joseph holds over the entire, first two areas. In Cornea and in Drakenhold. He's just doing whatever he wants. Hell, he does whatever he wants in Elfheim as well. He is so good. But Bradley, we don't like Bradley. Bradley can die in a ditch, man. Alright, we got the Prince. A+. And now I know what you're thinking. What? The Prince doesn't do any damage. The Prince is not an offensive class. It is a purely supportive class. If it did some offenses, I would push it up. But it doesn't, so I'm pushing it down. You have Banishing Staff, which removes buffs on a target, which is cool and all, but don't look at that. That's not not the important skill. The important skill is all the other skills. We have Rapid Order, which we covered on the High Lord. Very good. You have Defense Order. Everybody gets a defense buff. You have Offensive Order. Everybody gets an attack buff. And when I say attack and defense, I mean both magic and physical are both getting buffed. Guard Order gives everybody, in a row, 100% guard rate. For an attack. That's cool, especially if you use it on a unit that has a very bad guard rate. You have Sniping Order, which gives a whole row True Shot. You have Passive Order as a Valor skill to give an allied group 1 passive point. And you have Active Order to do the same thing. And you have Morale Boost, which means you can get more Valor points quickly to keep using Passive and Active Order. No shield, though, which would help this class. The biggest issues with this class is Gilbert is only as strong as the allies he's buffing. Because he's pretty not great on his own. He has literally C in every single thing. And the fact that passive and active growth can't be used on himself, on his own group. Because then, you can do some more stuff. We got Ye Old Dreadnought, which is a B class. Now I know what you're thinking. What? This class is broken. Yeah, it is, but 2 reasons why it's not. One, its availability is awful. It's better than Viking, though. It's better than Feathershield? Yeah, it's better than Feathershield. Even though the Feathershield's so late. Yeah, it's better than Feathershield. But it's a super good physical attacker. That's basically a Werebear mixed with a Langschneck. Because you have heavy slash, like the Sellsword, and you got heavy guard, like a Werebear. And I've already talked about how heavy guard ain't that good. You have Penetrate, which hits a whole column, giving them a defense buff, and it can't be guarded. Always nice. You have Wild Kick, which inflicts a guard seal and a stun onto a target that's just guarded, which basically says if you have guard, you are never going to use it again. You have Hawkeye, which makes a next attack a True Strike and a Crit Strike. And if the target was just hit by a Wild Kick, they're going to get blown back by Omega Shatter, which is just a buffed up Bastard's Cross. It's whew. You have Vital Blow, which hits stamina directly, which can work very nicely against a garrison enemy. You have Barrier Breaker, which is not good. I've already talked about this. And fortunately, she is an armored unit, but she has better movement than, most armors. And yeah, the class is super good, but there's 2 major factors that are holding this class back. The first one is it is extremely AP and PP heavy. Half of the actions that you use are 2. They cost 2 of either one, and none of the actions can restore any AP or PP. And it's also basically tied to endgame unless you cheese the arena very early. Yeah. Also, it doesn't give any utility. Excuse me, to anybody. Like, this class quite literally would just prefer to be alone, which I'm not going to spoil everything. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, we're gonna move on. We're not going to talk about the Necromancer, the Dark Lord, or the Overlord, because none of those are playable. Who cares about them? Not me. Okay, so we have the Dark Marquis. Sword variant. This is an S+ class, but because you cannot use it until literally halfway through the final battle, if you've completed everything else in the story, it is a C+ class. That holds it back so much. It is such a strong class. Listen, you have Burning Edge, which hits twice and burns, and gives a passive point if the target is already burning. You have Advanced Cover, which protects an ally and gives the user another active point to, attack again with Burning Edge. You have Phantom Counter, which is a True Strike that burns and removes buffs. You have Death Spin that hits a whole row and stuns and doubles in power if the target is afflicted. You have Parting Death to hit somebody and auto KO them if they have half health or less. You have Inferno to hit a whole column, ignoring half their defense, burning them, and giving you a passive point. There's no condition for that passive point. You just get one. You have Striking Ray, which is literally a Kamehameha. Greater Garrisons, whatever. This class is so good, and all those skills are relatively low AP and PP costs, with a lot of ways to regain them. And you're like, but what? It can't be ranked that. It's because you can't use it, man. You can't use the class. What does it matter how good the class is if you can't use it? Sorry. It holds the class back. Our Dark Marquis is the Axe Stacks Marquis, and that is an S class. Better than the Valkyrie, I gotta give it the better than the Valk. It's literally the best class if it had Astral Blade. Okay, you have Carnage to inflict -1 AP onto targets. You have Sanguine Pursuit, which not only hits the target after an ally attacks, but also heals you and gives you a passive point if the target was afflicted. Oh wow, almost like you should pair Ren with a thief. You have Eye of the Warrior Princess, which gives every enemy less attack power and less initiative. It's basically Dragon Roar, but better. You have Death Spin still, you know. You just stun lock them with Death Spin. You have Painbringer, which means every time she gets attacked, she gets +1 AP, plus 20% attack, and plus 10 initiative. And it stacks. Doesn't even matter. The attack doesn't even have to hit. That's the funny part. You have Vicious Torment, which hits the target twice and doubles in damage if the target was afflicted and gives back a passive point. You have Vital Absorb, which is one of, if not the best valid skill, as it steals stamina from a target and gives it back to the user. Which combines extremely well with Provoke 2, because Provoke 2, you can grab a group of enemies, have them all attack you, and then, once you're low on stamina, use Vital Absorb, steal some stamina, do some damage, keep fighting, keep ripping them up, rinse, repeat, go crazy. Another Greater Garrison, doesn't really matter. This class is so good. You get it so early, and yeah, you lose it for a little bit of time, but you get it right back. Like, what? This class is ridiculous. Again, the only reason it's not higher than the High Lord is because you can't use Astral Blade. That's it. Alright, let's go to our next Dark Marquis, Spear. And it's an F class. It's an F class. Now, again, this is because of availability. If it was available, C class. But without it, it's an F class. I'll explain why, okay? You have Flame Thrust, which burns a column of enemies. That's good. That's a good thing. Okay? You have Deadly Rush, which hits the same guy multiple times, stuns them, and burns them. Also great. You got Scornful Dread, which costs a taunt on everybody and gives the user a way to dodge 2 attacks. That's great. You have Evil Cover, which guards an enemy, but steals that ally's passive point? I don't know what's wrong with this guy. You have Dark Mist, which gives the user 50 free evasion and 2 passive points. That's awesome. You have Dark Step, which gives the user even more evasion and dodges attack. A free dodge. It's pretty nice. You have Hasten Call 2, which we already know is insane. Again, you have Greater Garrison, but it doesn't really do anything, especially if you have Nightwalk. Yeah. And you're probably like, okay, I don't understand why it's F. Okay, well listen, because like, shouldn't it be like a D or something? No, it's an F. I'll explain why, okay? None of the skills make sense for the stat line that that the user of this class has. They straight up don't work, okay? I don't want to say any names. This spoils stuff. But the person who uses this class has... Okay. If you're taunting, you can't cover somebody else. That cover also sucks. And vice versa. If you're taunting, then you're not going to cover somebody. If you're covering someone, you're not going to taunt, which means you're not going to get the taunt buff of dodging 2 attacks. None of that even... Okay, even if somehow both of those were still working, despite this class having a great shield, that has an F guard rate and a D defense rate. That is terrible. What does it matter if you have a shield if you're not using it for anything? He's not worse than Berserkers, but because he's literally not usable until the post game, he's in the F tier, bro. He's a fucking rat. And the Dark Marquis staff. That is a very easy D because of same reason as the Dark Marquis lance, availability, but A plus otherwise. Okay, it's literally a shaman and a witch merged together, which makes sense given who is the Dark Marquis staff. Okay, you have passive curse from the shaman. You got dark conferral, which is magic conferral, but also blindness. That's great. You have aqua venom, which is a whole row that also poisons, which is kind of like ice coffin if it melted, I guess. You have curse jail, which is quick curse but stronger. You have ominous wall, which grants all allies a buff to negate a single attack. That's so good. And you have maelstrom, which hits everything on the field and poisons them and doubles in power if any target is poisoned. Teleport, just like the witch, super great. You have magic assist, super great. The reason that she drops all the way to D rank is because of her terrible defense and her terrible guard rate while having a shield. Also, post-game exclusive. If she was available in the main story, I'd probably give it an S, because I can overlook the horrible defenses and guard rate with a shield if, you know, this is your kit. And that is my complete tier list of all the classes that are available currently. I don't know if they're going to add any more classes or whatever, but this is what it is now. Yeah. Bye? How am I supposed to end videos?